Hi guys, welcome back to Debbie's Collectible Dolls, and I am here to do a video with Sam. I didn't make it in yesterday. I was going to try, but I ended up getting that Sunday mood. You know how that happens. But I'm here on a Monday, even though there's the Monday mood as well. But then there's also a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday and Saturday. Anyway, I'm here. So I've come to do the video about the names because I'm going through each of my dolls and telling you why I picked the name that I picked, who they're named after, if they're named after anybody in particular. And I'm trying to do them in order of the dolls. I got, you know, the order I got them in, starting with the oldest. I did start with the first one. And I think Sam should be the third in line. I'm pretty sure he's the third one. I mean, I could actually go through all the paperwork and find it out to make sure I get them in the right order. However, I've got a lot of dolls and a lot of paperwork, but I'm pretty sure that Sam is actually number 3. It's going to start to go downhill pretty soon because I got a bunch of dolls around the same time, so they're just going to all just kind of meld into one, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, we're going to we're going to bring in number 3, Sam. He's Samuel George, and tell you who he's buying, things like that first, give you his background info. He was painted by Tracy Lister of Artful Babies, and here is the fantastic paperwork that this baby came with. It's in a book, like a proper little binder. Can you see? Well, there's a downside about it being in a book, but there you go. Artful Babies, Tracy Lister, master artist, and there's those bits there. And I got him his certificate of adoption. There was named Sam. Date of adoption was the 13th of April 2016. Weighs £4.15 ounces. And the length is 19.5 inches, and there's some pictures of him there, and actually the whole thing has got photographs from the auction. As you can see, it's got all these photographs from the auction, and they seem to have faded a little bit, which I don't know why, because I keep all the paperwork in a file put to one side, but they seem to have faded. I don't know why, but there you go. And the sculpt is the, can you read that there? The Maike sculpt, M-A-I-K-E, by Gudrun Legler, and that's that. And then he's got his certificate of authenticity right here in the back. There we go. So if you're wondering which Gudrun Legler sculpt it was, that is who Sam is. That you can usually tell a Gudrun Legler sculpt, they're very distinct, but which one it was, I cannot pronounce the name. Anyway, that's who he is. So I've had him since 2016, and he has painted hair. It kind of looks wet. I think she does that a lot, Tracy Lister. She makes her hair kind of look wet when she paints it. He's got beautiful eyes, probably one of my favourite dolls for the open eyes, because they're kind of blue-green with hazel flecks in the middle, and I could bring the camera really close in for you to have a look, but it's not going to show clear unless I film with my phone in HD, and that will take 12 hours and 13 minutes to upload or something like that, so I'm afraid that won't work. But if you go to my Instagram, which is Mad Hatted Debs, you will be able to see photographs close up of this little boy, because the way she paints is very, very tiny, delicate details, and when you've got the camera away from him, your eyes not close up to him, you can't really see the details of this baby, and it's sometimes lost on him from a distance. But when you get close in, tiny, tiny little freckles and little capillaries are so delicately painted that you don't really appreciate it from a distance. And his eyelashes are amazingly rooted. They're the best rooted eyelashes I've seen from any artist. On an open-eyed baby, because I know they're quite tricky to root on an open-eyed baby, but his eyelashes are beautifully rooted. So that is him. as far as the sculpt and the artist is concerned. Blue. Now his name, Samuel George. Okay, his first name I don't want to spend too much time on, because if you are not a Tolkien fan, it's just going to be very, very dull for you. But he is named after a character from The Lord of the Rings, Sam Gamgee, who assists Frodo. Now, probably if you don't know anything about The Lord of the Rings, you probably still know the name Frodo Baggins or Bilbo Baggins. Frodo is Bilbo's nephew. He's the one who's tasked with carrying and destroying the evil ring, the One Ring, to rule them all. Frodo, that's Frodo. And so in the books he's kind of like the main character, the big hero of the story sort of thing. But I don't see it that way. I think Sam's the hero of the story. He's a bit of a, well, he kind of is portrayed as a bit of a dimwit, but honestly, in my opinion, it wouldn't have worked out if it wasn't for Sam, because there's so many times where Frodo is failing, he's caving, he's just getting weighed down by the pressure on him, and Sam is the one who carries him through. And honestly, Gandalf should have given the ring to Sam. That's my opinion. There it is. It's laid out there. It's controversial. But the thing with Sam is he's like the unsung hero. He's the one who is always behind you, encouraging you, keeping you going. And I like that kind of person. I really do. I admire people like that. The ones who just are right there behind you. And without them, you won't reach the goal that you're heading towards. And I think they're special people. So that's why I picked the name Sam, because of what Sam in the story represents to me. So I picked the name. I call it, his full name would be Samuel. I'm just going to guess that Sam's full name is Samuel, because Sam George doesn't sound right to me, so I'll call him Samuel George. But we all know him as Sam. So that's where he got his first name from. Now George, I will put a picture of George at the end of this video, because I'm not going to put a picture of Sam. If you want to know what Sam looks like, go Google Lord of the Rings Sam, and you'll see what he looks like, because I'm not going to go take a picture of Google and be slapped with copyright. I don't own those photographs, but I do have a picture of George, because George was my uncle. George was my dad's brother. My dad was one of 6, being the third. My dad was the third, and George was the eldest boy, eldest child, and he was a lot older than all his siblings, and he was quite a character. He was what you would call old school Christian. He was the frighten people into heaven kind of a person. God love him. That's not my approach to my faith, but you know, you remember the people who used to stand on the soapboxes in town centre squares and shout scary stuff. That was my Uncle George. But the thing is, he meant well. He meant well. His heart was in the right place, but his mouth sometimes led him into strange direction. But outside of that, he was a very sweet person. He was a door-to-door salesman, and he fitted that kind of job lovely, because he was not shy. He was not shy at all. He was very forthright, which you need to be to stand in the town centre on your soapbox. And he used to go, I think was it Clean Easy or Betterware or something. This video is not sponsored by anyone, just so you know. There are other cleaning product companies, but I think it was something like that he worked for. And he used to knock on the door and sell them products and sell them God. That was my Uncle George. But you will see when you see the photograph of him that he was the most gentle looking person. He was tiny. Now my dad came from a family of short people. He was short, my dad was short, his brothers were mostly quite short. Actually his youngest brother wasn't all that short. He was taller, and I think one of his sisters is quite tall. one of his still living sisters. I'm short, but Uncle George was tiny, so that kind of just adds to the picture of Uncle George, this soapbox standing, loud shouting man who was really tiny. But that was Uncle George. He was just a character, and he has now passed away. As I said, he was the oldest of the siblings, and he was much, much older. I think when my grandma, his mum, had her youngest, my Uncle Irvin, who was the youngest of the 6, my Uncle George was already married with 3 kids, so he was clearly a lot older. But he went on to have 9 children of his own with his wife, so yeah. he was just a character. So I have named this little guy after Uncle George. I think I have all of those siblings the names have been given to it all, so you'll hear about all of those. They're all quite different. I don't think any of the others would have been quite as loud about their faith as Uncle George. Oh, vocal, but not to that extent. He was something. Yeah, so that is where his name came from. It wasn't scary. It really wasn't scary. I think people would just go, yes, okay, I'll just accept what you're saying, but just please be quiet. It wasn't scary. It just went on a lot, which I don't want to do, so I'm not going to keep talking much longer. But yeah, if you look at the photograph that I'm going to put up at the end, he was the little short white-haired man in the photograph. In fact, I might blur out everybody else's face because I actually took this photograph from my cousin's Facebook. My cousin being his youngest son, who's also on the photograph. I think it was his wedding photograph. He's now living in Australia, bless him. But yeah, Uncle George no longer with us. I think there's only 2 of the 6 left now, so Uncle George was not the first to go, actually. My dad was the first to go, but that is another story for another video when we get to William Roy. But shall I bring you over to have a closer look at him? Let me see if I can just turn his head so you can have a little bit of a look at his face. I fixed the stand so it wouldn't collapse again. Here he is. See, now it's too dark, but if you do go onto my Instagram, Mad Hatter Debs, send me a follow request, you'll be able to see photographs of him. But there he is. Not doing bad since I've had him all that time, really. He doesn't know what happened. There was just 3 of them. There was just him and 2 others, and now my nursery is just full of babies. Poor baby. Poor thing, it's all very confusing. Anyway, I have things to do, so I'm going to talk to you later, and you take very good care of yourself. Have a fantastic week, and yeah, see you very soon. Bye bye, guys.